Hey, something I realized is that no one in my family has ever worked a 9 to 5, and I'm the first one. And the fact that it's not in my DNA yet. I was reading this book. It's called It Didn't Start With You. And let me show you the book. It's groundbreaking. Okay? It breaks the ground. It broke my ground on the lack of foundation. The foundation that I did have, we were barely holding up, but it broke it. It's this book. It Didn't Start With You. It is by Mark Wolin. It won this little seal. That means it was really good. It's about how people inherit family trauma, even if you didn't live it. If your grandmother went through something, it's in you. And then it shares how to end the cycle. I like it. Oh, did I think it was a little confusing? Yes. Did I think it presented treatment opportunities? Maybe. Probably not for me. I feel like it'd be really hard to find out about my family history. Even if I did sit down with these people, I don't think I would get enough information to really dictate why I'm having a crisis at 25. But one thing that this book made me realize is that working a 9 to 5 is not in my composition. Okay, nobody's done it. It's very new. We don't like it. We grew up doing physical labor with our whole body. That's what comes natural. It's why retail felt natural. That's why working in customer service and food and just doing a lot with my hands felt fun. Okay? I didn't see work as work until now, and I know that this is for the best, and my parents came to this country so I could work a 9 to 5. And so by honoring them, I will work 9 to 5. But guys, it is so hard to wake up at the same time and do the same thing. Okay, I don't want to downplay anyone's issues. I struggled with addiction before, but not to this extent of coffee, corporate coffee. The connection is not okay. Like, why do I need it so much? I just wish, I want to put herbs in my body. I want to do natural remedies. You guys heard the podcast. I hate big pharma, and I want to do natural. Look at the wall. If somebody were to walk in this room, they'd be like, oh, you love vegetables. I don't. But do I aspire to be someone who eats, dandelion tea? Yes. I want to eat like that. But do I know? Because I work a 9 to 5. This is what I did this week. I was driving to work. I really wanted a hash brown, so I stopped and got one. My commute's an hour. 40 minutes down. I wanted another hash brown. Guess what was conveniently there when I wanted it? McDonald's. So on my way to work, I went through 2 McDonald's drive-thrus before I got to work. And if that doesn't scream corporate America, I don't know what does. Was it worth it? Yeah. Was I happy? No. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, this episode is where I'm going to talk about this common pattern that I noticed in my life. I know these episodes are about a lot of self-reflection. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk about my 3 greatest losses. And we're going to get very, very personal. We're going to get very, very deep. We're going to get to the root of my pain, the pain of my existence. I'm sorry if I look toward that side. It's the screen is there. And so I have a habit of looking at myself while I'm trying to talk. I don't want to stare into your soul. It's weird. But yeah. There is a very common theme in my life. And the very common theme is men leaving. And in simple terms, yes. But it's very deep. I have men issues. I want to emphasize that I have man issues, and God knows why. My family's cursed because nobody in my family, everyone who gets married, their marriage ends, and I really wanted to be the first one, but I don't know if I'm gonna be. I don't think I'm gonna be. Pray for me that happens. I mean, if I can be the first to work a 9 to 5, I can be the first to make a marriage work. Okay, we can pray, we can hope, we can believe, we can think that this is a possibility. that could happen for me. Like, oh, imagine if that happened. I would be on top of the world. I'd be like I think in that moment my depression would be cured knowing I was the first to make their marriage work in the family. It's crazy. Like, it's mind-blowing. It's like, wow. But anyways, these are my 3 greatest losses. The first one, I don't think a lot of you guys know, but the year I was born, or the year before, my brother passed away, and it was a very traumatic accident. And yeah, so while my mother was while I was a newborn infant, while she was pregnant with me, she was grieving over the loss of her firstborn. And throughout my life, it has been ingrained in my mind. She has instilled it in my mind. Oh, you were meant to have an older brother, but he died. And that affected me so much as a kid, because like I became the oldest after that. And so in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm always meant to have someone, but they always leave. Like, that was my first, I think, before I was even born, like, he was already gone. And so that was my first, like, realization, like, why did he have to leave? Like, I felt abandoned, I felt sad, I felt grief, I felt constant reminders about him not being in my life when he should have been in my life. And it was kind of like, he should have been there, but he's not. And so that missing puzzle, that void that I felt in my heart, started very, very young. And I don't really know what to make of that until now, because this is a pattern. Guys are gonna see a pattern. My second, it's not my first heartbreak. It was my father, who left my life very early on. He was in and out. He was absent, but he was present, if that makes sense. He struggled a lot, and I don't blame him for absolutely anything, but he was not in my life, and that affected me beyond words. Like, I got to a point where I didn't want to have a relationship with him, but it also kind of, like, of course, the daddy issues thing is so real, and I noticed myself literally craving and seeking validation from other people, men, because of the lack of affection and love and connection that I felt having a relationship with my father. And so I would say that is my second abandonment from men. And then I began to notice, like, this pattern, like, what do they always leave? Like, these people who were supposed to be pivotal role models in my life abandoned me. And so that pain didn't become verbal until this next part I'm about to say, but it did shape a lot of the root to my pain, and it impacted me so much. But I didn't really see that till now, till I'm growing up and working through my traumas, when I was able to, like, uncover that uncover those layers of abandonment. And in therapy, we're, like, trying to understand that my mannerisms, my habits, my desire for attachment and attachment formation literally stems from those 2 people not being in my life at an early age when I needed them to be. Of course, none of these things could be controlled. So there's really no one to blame in the equation. I'm just stating that this is what happened. This caused me a lot of pain, and this caused me a lot of discomfort and overall emptiness, and a sense of lowering my ability to receive love when it was healthy, because a part of me was kind of used to people leaving, very important people leaving. So I was questioning myself. I was like, am I not good enough to have someone? Am I not good enough to have a man? Like, whatever. But yeah, that was a struggle. And then last year, to make my life an absolute hell, that person I was with for 7 years leaves, and it's another guy. It's a third man in my life, because, like, my brother, my father, my love of almost a decade, like, these are things that literally impacted the core of my existence. My father, that is biological. My brother, he is, I mean, still very much talked about in the family, very much present, even though he is no longer with us. My whole life, I have felt a part of him with me. And unfortunately, like, I have, like, craved a lot of him, and it kind of grew up having these, like, fantasizing a life with him. I don't know if that stemmed from my mother often recounting stories or grieving, or, like, when his death anniversary comes, like, you feel that energy, and it's somehow attached to me. And so I talk about him a lot, even though I never got to meet him. I I think about it, like, where would we be now? Where would I be now? How would I be different if I had grown up with his influence and presence? Something that has always bothered me in a way, because it's something that is very complex in matter, but also I'm trying to understand and navigate why it keeps being a reoccurring factor of me seeking that older person, seeking that attention from someone, from an older male. And like, it's weird, guys, like, it's weird. And on top of the other trauma I have, but like, these are just the three that stands out. The abandonment of my father, of course, created a lot of things, and it's something that I also hear from a lot of people, especially like, you know, Hispanic culture. The dad is often absent, and unfortunately enough, there's always issues that come when a parent is not present, and it affects you, and it affects a lot on your self-esteem. So you think you're not good enough, and I think I struggled with that for many, many years. And then the abandonment of my first true love, someone who had dedicated their life to me and for once made me feel heard, seen, and special, and made me feel loved. And that person was essentially, in my mind, like, to my thought process, he was filling the voids that were made from my brother and my father leaving my life. He was filling that for a couple years, and I was able to finally I healed a lot with his presence. I was able to kind of separate myself from the gap and the void that kind of restricted me and held me back in a lot of ways from being able to see my worth and potential, and being able to see that I had like this purpose that was apart from these two individuals who had left me, which affected me a lot. He kind of gave that back to me, and he gave me another chance to live and another chance to realize that I have worth, because this person wants to show me that individualized love and attention and comfort, which I have tried to die for growing up. And then, unfortunately enough, from one day to the next, it's abandonment, and it's a lack of closure and understanding why that had to happen. And to this day, I'm still dealing with a lot of stuff, and of course I'll tell you guys all of it, because it needs to be exposed. Like, this is like, I mean, if you've seen my TikTok, I can't say more, but there's so much pain with being abandoned by three men who essentially have formed and shaped me. And of course that leads me to not be able to trust anymore. Of course I want to trust again. Of course I want to find love, and I want to find it genuinely, and I want to be the first person to not have a broken marriage. But of course you see that cycle repeating with the last episode, is what I was talking about, like being put again in that toxic relationship and not being like, not knowing why that happened to you, but it just did unconsciously. Like, you're blinded to things. You're so blinded to things because of pain, and the worst part of it all is that none of it is your fault. So why that happens, don't know. It just startles me how the cycle is something that keeps happening in people's lives, and it happens so naturally, and like, people don't really see that, people don't really know, and we're just kind of stuck in like this fluctuation of like, why does it repeat, and why does it repeat to so many people? So anyways, I took a lot out of this book. I really recommend, if you guys want to read more on helping yourself kind of regain a sense and like track the roots behind pain, whether that be mental, physical, emotional, or just target and understand certain situations you constantly struggle with. It can be with like sleep, it can be with a reoccurring memory, it can be with a dynamic you have that may be falling apart socially. I think the book really opens your eyes to seeing and being able to think outside the box, and kind of takes the focus away from you self-blaming yourself and identifying a cause to something that you may not even be aware of. So in that way, I really did think the book was very informative and helpful in a sense of targeting why cycles repeat. Why are we kind of cursed with the DNA of our ancestors and just having to deal with these problems, which like, it's so complex and it's so cool, and I do want to look more into that. But those are just my 3 greatest losses that I want to put out there, because pain is real, but healing is also. So with all that to say, guys, I hope this brings some form of clarity, and I hope you stay tuned for the next little short episode. And I'm putting out, it's a series of 5. It has no theme, but this is just the beginning, and I really hope to see this channel grow. Yeah, as we start off 2025. And with that, I hope you guys slay in your day, because I know I won't be tomorrow morning.